think Trump dodged another bullet. I want to get the take of our editor-in-chief of Breitbart.com, Alex Marlow. Alex, how are you, brother?
I'm doing great, Mike. It's great to be on with you and your terrific audience.
Your terrific audience. We were on the phone yesterday with Laura Trump when the news broke. So we got her take live as it happened. What is your take on Tim Walz being the VP?
Yeah, I'll go a step further than you. I think Trump got away with murder. I can't think of a pick that sends a worse message to the Democratic base and to people who think Democrats are going to win. And I can't think of a more beatable person. I don't see how this doesn't totally dissipate the Kamala momentum that was, undeniable. I always thought it was. I haven't been as scared as some other people in my life who have been deeply concerned about the energy around Harris. I don't think it's going to sustain for the next 4 months. But this is it. I mean, this was dodging a bullet is mild on this one.
Van Jones even admitting that Walz is easy to define, as opposed to maybe a Josh Shapiro. And we've rattled through a bunch. I mean, the top three for me are Tampon Tim, tampons in boys' bathrooms across the state.
Yeah.
Sanctuary state for trans youth, and illegal driver's licenses for illegal aliens. And then Michael Watley brought up, of course, the Minneapolis George Floyd riots. So you put those four things. Like, what are we talking about here? Is there anything else that climbs?
Those are really good ones. It's interesting because you think about this pick, and this is a hard left pick. And Kamala Harris has been defined as a hard left person because of the 2019 survey that said she was the most leftist person in the Senate. She's only in the Senate for a couple of full years, and she managed to distinguish herself amongst the rest of the socialists in that party as being even more left. And then she picked a guy who's undeniably the left of her, which is just how could we get so lucky? This is not a leftist country. And to pander to the far left of your base we're just very fortunate. I mean, look at last night. What happened last night? What's the other big political news? Cori Bush losing her primary. The country is sending a signal we're not that hard left. It's the Biden tacked left over his career, and he went from a senator he was a bad senator, but he was not, I don't think, universally regarded as a bad senator. I think anyone could look at the Biden presidency honestly and see it as effective. He was completely ineffective in anything important. He got a lot of stuff done because he knows how to do that. The stuff he got done was terrible for the country, and it didn't work. The borders were open. Crime went up in major cities in a lot of ways. We got the Bidenflation, huge economic insecurity, huge levels of depression, fentanyl overdoses. I mean, the stats are terrible for him. So what's the move? It's putting two far left people to run? It is so obviously stupid. I'm semi-shocked. Mike, let me give you something to illustrate how bad of a pick I think this is. There were people who reached out to me, multiple people, and I don't think this is true. I don't think this analysis is correct. Multiple people reached out to me suggesting they were throwing in the towel. They weren't going to sacrifice someone good because they were so convinced they're going to lose. Now, again, I don't think that. I don't want to make the audience cocky, but the fact that was discussed in dead serious terms yesterday makes you think we couldn't have done any better.
Well, okay, so where were you, and what was your initial reaction when you found out?
I actually took it seriously, but I don't because the audience knows this. People who listened when I was the host, I try not to dismiss. I know I'm smart enough to know how ignorant I can be. So it's basically I would go through the exercise and think through what's going on.
Okay. Well, why, from her point of view?
Yeah.
We talked earlier about why she didn't pick Josh Shapiro, and that's admitted. That's not like some weird conservative. Even Van Jones was talking about that, and like that he's Jewish, and we just, heaven forbid we have a Jewish person in the Hamas wing of the party. All right, so that's known why she didn't go with him. But why would you go with Walz?
Yeah, it's a few other quick ones on why you wouldn't go with him. First of all, Minnesota is the state that's been the longest Democratic stronghold in the country. Pennsylvania is a swing state.
1972.
So that's number one. So and then you've got, look at his record. He's a healthcare and tuition for illegal aliens guy. He's a big George Floyd guy, as you mentioned. He's a big lockdown guy. He was one of the guys who had one of those snitch hotlines for if you broke the lockdowns. So he's really into lockdowns, which kill people. The lockdowns kill people. And the coronavirus, as the audience knows, I'm of the opinion the coronavirus was pretty bad and did kill a lot of people, particularly old people. But the lockdowns killed young people, got them hooked on fentanyl, etc. And Walz was big into that stuff. So he's a gun. I mean, the gun stuff is all over the internet. I mean, what a goofball he is with the guns. We know what he is. He's a far left guy. That's his identity. It's who he is. He was a big anti-Trump guy, so he's not a unifier. Okay, why pick him? Why? Well, I have no idea. No, I'm just kidding. Why pick him? It's the Hamas stuff. The base is pro-Hamas, and Walz is very soft on Hamas, and he's very positive on the idea that the party has too much allegiance to the Jews in Israel. That's number one. And then number two is identity politics. And I think it was a hedge against having the first black female woman that would make it, I think, probably a pretty big gamble to put a Gretchen Whitmer or a Pete Buttigieg or someone like that on the ticket. I've been saying for a long time, and again, my predictions have not been perfect in this election cycle, as you know, Mike. I've been saying I think Newsom's too smart to be on this ticket because it's just too messy.
Yes.
And I think that does look pretty good in retrospect, that was a pretty good analysis. So then who do you put on it? That narrows it down to Josh Shapiro, who the donors love, I think is much more compelling. The moderates would like him, but the pro-Hamas base would not like him. And Mark Kelly, I think, was probably in a similar vein. So Walz is the pander to the hard left. They think they need the hard left to win. And I think that's what's going on here, is they honestly feel like that hard left, the pro-Hamas crowd, is going to deliver them the election, or they don't have a chance.
The fact that there's that big of a pro-Hamas base to be pandered to is concerning.
That's the point. That is the crucial point of all the points.
And you're right. He's like a bizarro world DEI pick.
Yes.
So you have the DEI pick, and then the opposite of that, which is still its own DEI pick.
Kamala's too interesting looking, so we got to pick the guy who looks like Colonel Sanders. Like, that's the move.
I want to play this clip for you, though, because this is the best I can come up with. I think he's some sort of folksy counter to JD. And here is the clip from last night that's making the rounds. And I almost want to leave the punchline out because there's two different conversations to have here. But let me just play the whole thing. I have 10 billion tabs open, so it's taking its time. Here.
And I got to tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy.
All right, get to the point, Tim. Get to the punchline.
That is if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So.
Okay, so that wasn't the clip I meant to play. That was just the punchline. I left out.
No, but it's a good one to play. I'm excited about that clip because that's a sex joke about J.D. Vance, and people can look up online why it is. But I think that's what weirdos do. That's why I think he's weirdo Walz. And he acts like he's normal, but a guy who worships the altar of George Floyd, a guy who wants to lock down children, and if you break the lockdown, there's a snitch hotline to tattle to the government about it, and a guy who makes sex jokes about the vice presidential nominee when the country's already so divided that the move is not to elevate. It's not when they go low, we go high. The move is to make a sex joke about a guy who, by the way, 39 years old and has a family of brown children. I think it's weird. I think that's a weird thing to do for a guy to do within 5 minutes of being nominated. So that's my take. And I bet the people who like Hamas will disagree. But maybe if you don't like Hamas, maybe you'll be open-minded to this guy's weird and shouldn't be given more power in this country.
just alliteration itself. Tampon Tim and Weirdo Walz. The fact that they're going with Weirdo and then they still went with a guy with the last name that starts with a W
bad call.
to open up.
I told you this is a intensely bad call by them.
even in the world of alliteration. All right, so I do want to spend more time on the couch thing because I like. Yeah, it's a weird sex joke. The fact the genesis of this JD Vance having sex with the couch thing. And we're in a tricky spot, and you can tell me to end the conversation right now because this is the double bind they put you in, is where they make up this ridiculous thing, and you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Talk about it. But I think let's just do it one time.
Sure.
So some guy with like 5 Twitter followers, like a nobody troll bot on Twitter, made up this story that JD Vance wrote in Hillbilly Elegy. It's not in Hillbilly Elegy. It's not there. But he said it's on page 179. It's not. Yeah. It's not in the book at all. That JD Vance had sex with the couch. Then the AP, the Associated Press, came out and fact-checked it. This guy with a total zero, nobody loser on Twitter made up a ridiculous lie, and the Associated Press fact-checked it, said it was not true, but still gave it that air of, legitimacy, to the point where now the vice presidential candidate can make a joke about it, and the whole arena goes nuts because they think it's hilarious and true or whatever. What is that? What are we to do with that in our...
Well, I understand how something really shifted in a major way when, after that debate, when the media, I think a lot of it was out of emotion, to be honest with you, were so beside themselves with how bad the Biden debate was, that they joined this cabal of people that seemed like, ended up being led by Obama, but it was a lot of people who wanted Biden off the ticket. All of them now own this race. This is why that Maine congressman or whoever it was wrote that piece that I thought was pretty brilliant about how the Democrats need to take the L, that they need to stick with Biden. They're going to lose, but lose with dignity and move on. Everyone now on the left is invested in this. Everyone on the left has, even if you look at some of the moderate candidates, the way the Josh Shapiro's of the world were trying to act like he was a hard leftist in the end to try to make sure he got nominated. Everyone's invested in what's going on in this in the outcome now. And so the media in particular needs to do whatever they can to win. And the best thing they can do to win is to not talk about the issues. Because once you get into all of the major issues that have affected America, a guy who let Black Lives Matter burn down his state, a woman who was named the most left-wing person in the Senate and was in charge of our border and failed on it. When you start talking about that stuff, then of course Trump's going to win. He's going to win by a lot. So all they want to do is make personal attacks on Trump and Vance and see if Trump and Vance are going to blow themselves up. That's what they have to do. And Walz might be okay at that, actually, at that strategy. He's a more articulate than Harris is, and he is an attack dog naturally, which is typically a good role for vice presidents to be the attack dog.